Greetings, comrades and friends. You're watching the Ruslan Belov channel. Before we begin, if this is your first time here, or if you've been watching for a while but haven't subscribed yet, do it right now and make sure to hit the bell. YouTube is actively suppressing military analytical content. The algorithm cuts reach, buries recommendations, and in doing so tries to cut us off from an independent picture of what's happening. Every subscription, every like, every comment is literally oxygen for this channel. This isn't just talk, it's the reality of the platform in 2026. Thank you for being here. A special and very warm thank you to our sponsors and to everyone who supports the channel financially through Super Thanks. It means an enormous amount. It is precisely thanks to your support that the channel keeps running, keeps improving. The analysis gets deeper, the maps get more accurate, and the episodes come out more regularly. You are the foundation of everything we do here. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, every single one of you. So, today is April 27th, 2026, and it has been a genuinely packed day. The front is alive, the front is shifting. A whole series of directions have given us significant, and in some cases, fundamentally important, news. We're going to break it all down methodically, without filler, with analysis and context. The Sumy sector, the Vice Titans. Let's start in the north, with the Sumy sector, where the situation is becoming increasingly alarming for the Ukrainian side. Russian units appear to have pushed right up to two settlements, Kostyantynivka and Pisarivka. Map corrections covering the period from late April 25th through late April 27th record a significant improvement in Russian positions in the eastern part of Kondratyevka. This is not a simple tactical step, it is a strategic maneuver with a clear objective. The key point is that Kostyantynivka and Pisarivka are the main logistical arteries through which the armed forces of Ukraine supply their units on the Yunikivka sector of the front. If Russian forces establish control over these two settlements, located directly north of Stetskovka and the city of Sumy itself, supplying Ukrainian formations in the area of the village of Novosich, will become an extremely difficult logistical challenge. In essence, we are talking about cutting a supply line. This is the ABCs of warfare, and the Russian command has clearly not forgotten it. Pressure continues on the southeastern Sumy axis as well, in the direction of Krasnopilia. Today, the Russian Ministry of Defense and the northern group of forces officially confirmed improvements in positions around Taratutyno. An analysis of incoming data allows us to state with a reasonable degree of confidence that the settlement of Novodmitrivka is effectively caught in a pincer movement, in a state of semi-encirclement. It is very likely that Ukrainian units will soon be forced to abandon this position and fall back westward toward Krasnopilia. Uncertainty also persists around Ryazne. This settlement has long been in conditions of, if not full, then operational encirclement. Nevertheless, Ukrainian units have so far not withdrawn and continue to hold their positions under fire. This suggests either high morale within the garrison or that the order to retreat has simply not yet been given. Kupiansk and Kharkiv, the grey zone holds. On the Kharkiv sector, no significant changes. On the Kupiansk axis, several frames have entered the public domain showing FPV drone operators striking Ukrainian formations in the central part of the city. These materials once again confirm what we have discussed repeatedly. The western and southwestern parts of Kupiansk remain a grey zone, territory that cannot be definitively assigned to either side's control. Fighting there is localized and positional in character. The line of contact is extremely unstable, shifting almost block by block. The Borova and Lyman directions, the main story of the day. Now, stop. This is arguably the most important development of the day, and this section deserves maximum attention. From early morning, virtually every authoritative cartographic resource and analyst published information simultaneously. The armed forces of Ukraine have launched a counter-offensive on the Lyman axis. And judging by the initial corrections, this counter-offensive has produced results. According to data from both pro-Russian analysts and neutral mapping services, Ukrainian units succeeded in restoring control over the settlements of Sosnove and Sviatohirsk, both located on the Izium sector. In addition, a significant improvement in VSU positions has been recorded in the area of Drobyshev, in the southern, southwestern, and southeastern sectors. According to some reports, Ukrainian units managed to push beyond the boundaries of Lyman itself and force Russian units back in the direction of Ozerne. Let's be honest, this event does not fit the operational picture we have been observing on the Sloviansk axis in recent weeks. Let's examine the possible explanations. Version 1. The Ukrainian side is expanding its bridgehead ahead of a possible organized withdrawal from Lyman. If the VSU command understands that the city cannot be held in the medium term, it makes sense to proactively expand the maneuver space so that a pullout does not turn into a rout. Version 2. The VSU is occupying the grey zone and establishing positions ahead of a general battle for Lyman, meaning this is not a retreat, but preparation for defense from more advantageous lines. Version 3, and this is arguably the most analytically interesting. The counter-offensive on the Lyman sector may be a direct response to what is happening on the Borova axis. According to incoming reports, the Russian army has launched a large-scale offensive against Borova from multiple directions simultaneously, from the Kupiansk agglomeration, from the Zhuravka ravine, Red Kudub, and adjacent sectors. A number of pro-Russian sources claim that Russian units have already entered the northern and northwestern parts of Borova itself, having advanced through the forested terrain along the Oskil River. If this information is confirmed, and a growing body of evidence points in that direction, then the Borova pocket is beginning to close. In this context, the Ukrainian strike toward Lyman reads as a drawing-off maneuver. Force the Russian command to redeploy reserves from the Borova and Red Kudub sectors back southward, thereby slowing the pace of advance on Borova. This is classic operational logic, and it has to be said, fairly competent logic at that. In terms of strategic context, Borova is the second of three major bridgeheads that the VSU has maintained along the Siversky Donets and Oskil rivers. The first, Kupiansk and the Kupiansk agglomeration, appears to be living out its final weeks as a Ukrainian bridgehead. The Lyman bridgehead has long since been squeezed to the limit. Ukrainian positions there are literally pressed against the riverbeds. That left one large, intact pocket, the Borova one. And that, it appears, is what is now being liquidated. This is a major battle, and it has in all likelihood only just begun. We are watching this very closely. The Sloviansk axis. Ozerne has fallen, Kriva Luka encircled. On the Sloviansk sector today, the Russian Ministry of Defense officially closed the book on the battle for Ozerne. The settlement has passed to full Russian control. This came as no surprise. Over the past several days, a large volume of video material entered the public domain. MLRS strikes, thermobaric systems at work, map corrections from various experts. Now comes official confirmation. The consequences of this development are clear. Kriva Luka now finds itself in operational encirclement. With a high degree of probability, within the next week or two, the Ukrainian garrison will be forced to begin withdrawing westward, toward Piskunivka and Starodubivka. This means that the battle for the strategic heights along the Siversky Donets on this section of the front is effectively concluding in Russia's favor. Simultaneously, information is coming in about advances east of Kramatorsk, along the Siversky Donets-Donbas Canal. Corrections from several analysts record not only the consolidation of positions along the canal itself, but attempts to cross it, meaning movement already into the depths of Ukrainian defenses on the purely Kramatorsk sector. The probable next objectives on this axis, which we have discussed repeatedly, Malinivka and Tikhonivka. If these settlements come under threat, the situation around Kramatorsk will begin to change qualitatively. The Kostyantynivka axis, the offensive picks up pace. 3 days ago, on April 24th, leaflets were still being dropped over Dova Balka, urging Ukrainian soldiers to surrender. By the 25th, a full-scale offensive had begun. Today we can see its results, and they are striking. In the first 24 hours, Russian forces managed to cut Highway Aero 520 between Dova Balka and Kostyantynivka. This was followed by consolidation in the southeastern part of Dova Balka and the southwestern part of Kostyantynivka. Today, cartographers are recording improvements across the entire bridgehead between the two settlements. The pace is not letting up. In the southwestern part of Kostyantynivka, Air and bomb strikes are being carried out regularly against VSU temporary deployment sites. Published reconnaissance footage clearly indicates that new map corrections in this area are imminent. Pressure is also being applied on the eastern outskirts of the city. Russian forces already control several rows of buildings and are methodically advancing in a northwestern direction. Over 5 days, several dozen residential properties, modest in pace but steady and without rollbacks. Zaporizhzhia and the Dobrovolsk axis. On the Dobrovolsk axis, reports are coming in from the area of Novopavlivka. By the evening of April 27th, Russian units substantially improved their positions within the settlement. Preliminary assessments suggest that more than 50% of Novopavlivka is already in the grey zone or under Russian army control. The offensive continues. The Zaporizhzhia sector, a pause. That does not mean it is quiet. Most likely, extremely intense fighting is currently underway on both sides. It is simply that such a high density of activity on both sides often creates an information vacuum. No time to film, no time to publish, no time to comment. Both sides are working. We are waiting for information. Mali, the Russian Africa Corps regroups. Let's shift to West Africa, to Mali, where the Russian Africa Corps is conducting operations across virtually the entire length of the country. Today we must acknowledge, Russian units were forced to abandon Kidal, a key settlement in northeastern Mali. Footage has entered public circulation showing a Russian column withdrawing from Kidal. Without apparent organized resistance from the separatists, the position appears to have been logistically untenable. Kidal is located far from the nearest major hub, Gao, and supplying it under active combat conditions is extremely difficult. Shortly after, information emerged about a withdrawal from the area of Tessalit as well, effectively the furthest northeastern point of Mali, on the border with Algeria. The Russian side is consolidating its forces, and consolidating them in the right direction, toward Gao. Gao is not simply a city, it is a strategic node through which passes the only bridge across the Niger River for the entirety of its course through Mali. Control over this bridge means control over the connectivity of the country. The international airport is also located here. The loss of Gao would effectively bisect the country. It is there that Russian units are now being concentrated to organize a defense and prevent a separatist breakthrough from the northeast into the central and southwestern regions of Mali. In the central and southwestern parts of the country, stabilization operations continue. Worth noting separately, on the first day of the crisis, Mali's Minister of Defense was wounded in an assassination attempt. This adds yet another layer of tension to an already complex picture. The Middle East, Iran, the US, and the Hormuz game. And finally, the Middle East, which today produced an entire layer of critically important diplomatic news. Today, Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi arrived in St. Petersburg for a scheduled meeting at the level of the Russian president. At the time this material was being prepared, the talks had not yet concluded, so you may already have more detail by the time you're watching this. But the context of the visit is clear. Just recently, the US president stated that he had spoken with the Russian president without sharing details. It appears that through the Russian side, Washington attempted to send certain signals to Tehran regarding the resolution of the current crisis. Iran's position has by now taken on a clearer shape. Tehran has put forward a 3-point ultimatum. First, the United States must fully unblock the Strait of Hormuz. Second, navigation through the strait is to come under the joint jurisdiction of Iran and Oman. Notably, shortly before the St. Petersburg visit, Araghchi met with an Omani representative, and by all indications, the two sides were discussing the mechanism for distributing revenues from control over the strait. Third, the nuclear question is to be deferred for an extended period. At the same time, the American side is reportedly insisting on a condition. For the duration of the settlement period, enriched uranium must not remain on Iranian territory. This is where the well-known initiative resurfaces. Russia has repeatedly offered to store Iran's enriched uranium. Until now, Washington has blocked this option. Possibly, for the first time in a long while, some movement on this question is now in sight. While diplomats search for exits, the military continues to build up its presence. The United States is moving carrier strike groups and amphibious assault ships toward Iran. a formidable grouping in the region. At the same time, the US president's authority to conduct military operations abroad without congressional approval expires around May 1st, the 60-day limit under the relevant legislation. The vote will be telling. If Congress refuses, all the military rhetoric risks amounting to a bluff. In southern Lebanon, the situation has deteriorated. The ceasefire has effectively collapsed. The Israel Defense Forces and Hezbollah are striking each other's positions. The defining new element of this phase, Hezbollah is making increasing and more active use of fiber optic guided drones. This is a fundamentally different class of threat. Such UAVs are virtually immune to electronic warfare jamming. The Israeli side appears to have not been fully prepared for this development, and that is already being reflected in the results of its countermeasures. That is the kind of day it has been. Dense, multi-layered, full of events that will have lasting consequences. The Borova offensive, if confirmed, is one of the key operational episodes of this year. Kostyantynivka represents pressure on an agglomeration that is moving ever closer to its critical point. Mali is a reminder that the African chessboard continues to be played out, and not always according to Moscow's script. And the Middle East is that knot, where a single wrong move can change everything. Thank you for reading and watching to the very end. That genuinely means something. If this material was useful to you, leave a like. It takes a single second of your time, but makes a real difference to the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell, so you don't miss the next episode. Until next time, on the Ruslan Belov channel. Take care of yourselves, keep a clear head, and I'll see you in the next one.